Namaskar, welcome back to Media Scan. Viewers, very often on Media Scan, we have dwelt on issues which may not have hit the headlines, but they do provide us a lot of food for thought. Similarly, for decades, the intellectual space in our country has been dominated almost to a degree of control by a particular line of thought. People who tried to go astray or challenge their thought had to face very difficult times. But slowly and surely, an alternative thought has been observed to be rising, and it is often referred to as the new right or the right wing, maybe for want of a better word. Is the right thought, the right wing, the new right in India making an impact on our intellectual space? Has it provided that necessary facility of an alternative vision to the people of the country which a democracy thrives upon? In other words, has the new right finally arrived in India? These are some of the questions we are going to dwell upon in this very special episode of Media Scan this evening. But before that, a quick capsule on a book that has been launched just a few days ago, which goes into exactly these issues that I have just mentioned. Do watch. So, after that quick capsule on the new right, I have here the author of the book himself, Abhijit Majumdar, well-known journalist, and has been known to share his thoughts without any fear at all times. Welcome, Abhijit Majumdar, to the Doordarshan studios. And also to discuss on the same subject, another gentleman who is known again for voicing his thoughts without any fear, and is also interestingly a part of the book that we have just mentioned about, Rahul Roshan, a strong voice on social media. Namaskar, Rahul Roshan, welcome. And I want to come to Abhijit Majumdar first. Abhijit Majumdar, you have written this book about the new right. But you know, it's not always easy to define the right or any thought by certain political features or their ideas. Are you certain that what you are referring to is the new right in its in the complete sense of the term?
Smita, first of all, thank you so much for having me here to discuss my book. It happens to be my first book, by the way, India's New Right. To discuss that, and also thanks Rahul for being here for the show. Thank you so much. Now, India's new right, see, when I use the word right, right is loaded. It is, I have also admitted in the first chapter itself that right probably was not the exact word or term that I was looking for, but then there is really nothing to define, what we are seeing. And, if you call it non-left, then it defines something by the negative, which shouldn't be. And also, while India's right is not right in the Western sense,
yes,
of sense of Western politics, we are very different. Even our economic thought is different from the West's absolute open market thing. We believe in our so-called right. Also, there are sections who believe in a certain amount of protectionism, a certain amount of social support in terms of to the poorer sections. So it may not be right in the Western sense, but Smita, why should the West have monopoly over the word right? India has, we can define India's right in the Indian sense. Just
yes,
as a certain faith does not have monopoly over the color green, Green is the color of Parvati. Green is the color of a certain form of Saraswati. Green is the color of prosperity in our civilization. Right does not belong to the West only. We can define our own right. Having said that, the Indian right is extremely, extremely diverse. I mean, it's not one sort of monolithic. I mean, and this book actually captures how different, there are so many different viewpoints in the right, so-called
within
right,
the spectrum of
within the spectrum of the right, Indian right. And so these, there are almost 50 interviews of known prominent people like Rahul, like Sai Deepak, like Anupam Kher, Sanjeev Sanal, Advaita Kala. There are also interviews of faceless people working in remote parts of the country, selflessly, without a material reward system for them, but just getting up every morning and doing what they have to do.
what they believe in.
What they believe in, what they believe is their karma, what they believe is, should be their action. So
Rahul Roshan, let's not dwell on the moniker so much. As Abhijit Majumdar just spelt out, we do not have to go by these, straight-jacketed definitions. We can have our own sense of things. Often when we refer to the right wing in our conversations on social media, chatter, elsewhere, it is generally defined in the political sense of the term. And the most important thing associated with it is nationalism. What I want you to tell our viewers for their benefit is this right wing, as we refer to it, more just about nationalism? Is it a political expression? Is it more cultural and civilizational? How would you look at it?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me, and thank you, Abhijit, for mentioning me in the book. If one were to kind of come at that one instance or that one parameter which differentiates between, say, what you call the left and what Abhijit had called the new right, I think nationalism and cultural aspects of it definitely is one of the defining feature, one of the, that aspect that can be taken as, maybe a benchmark or a litmus test, if you want to put it like that way, in which you can, bucket people into what can be left and right, not exactly in the academic terms of the sense, because, both the terms left as well as right, I mean, left wing and right wing have gone immense, metamorphosis over the decades, actually. So in India, in Indian context, nationalism and what is your idea of nation, because idea of India is a very, very popular catchphrase, and it was in a way hijacked or monopolized by the, what we can call as the old establishment, or in fact, they are still the establishment, or say the old, deep state. By definition, they continue to be, but yeah, in popular parlance, people think that, okay, once the government changes, these things also have changed. But yeah, largely whatever structures were built over since independence, or in fact before independence, whoever were controlling them, whoever were calling shots there, how they define India, what is their idea of India, and what is their idea of a nation, and what should be the nationalism, and how this new right thinks. There a lot, I think a vertical division definitely is over there, and nationalism, and especially your views about culture, that definitely can be taken as that one aspect on which you can kind of, put people either on the left or right of whatever is this divide. Even in the political sense, I mean, like,
yes.
Say Rahul Gandhi has been going on and saying that India is a union of states. I mean, like, technically, and whatever is written in Constitution, people being apologists for Rahul Gandhi might say that technically that is correct, but that defines the difference or the schism in thinking that the left and the right is India just a union of warring state which have come at some kind of negotiated peace? That's actually the exact term that many in the Congress belief or Congress ecosystem have said. Or India has actually been a civilizational state running into centuries, and the genesis of that nation is not 1947.
Yes.
So these kind of belief, these kind of thinking, this kind of definition, I think that definitely is one of the the parameters that divides the new right from the whatever you may call the older left, the new
Yes. But I'll come back to Abhijit Da here, and I want to know from him, the one thing that is often referred to is the cause and effect of the political change that has come in the country. Some say that the emergence of this new right-wing thought is an effect, or rather a consequence of the political change in the country. Perhaps it started during the regime of the late Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and most particularly more pronounced after Narendra Modi became Prime Minister. But there are many who believe that there is the emergence of a right-wing thought which is vocal in the middle classes, but then there are a lot of people in the other segments of society who have come out with their thoughts which prompted the political change. So, I mean, there is a kind of a cause and effect debate going on about this.
Smita, what I argue, and I've done so in the book, I'll just read out a passage in support. I believe that there has been centuries of continuity, thousands of years of continuity. There have been waves where this whole surge of nationalism or civilizational revival has happened. Civilizational resistance has happened. India would not, one must understand it's a unique place in the world. With so much diversity, how does one call itself, it's still, and with so much of invasion, centuries of colonial rule, it's still, yes, we have lost our limbs, but the body still exists. I'll very quickly, if you allow me, I'll read out a passage from here. It says, perhaps for the first time, ordinary Indians are waking up and vocalizing their angst about a losing 1,000-year demographic war, which has taken away Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh from Bharat and threatens to sever more limbs. But above all, the insurrection of India's faceless millions has been against the constant attacks on their simple day-to-day traditions, their festivals, their way of life, and the core of their spiritual existence through punishing policies, judicial whiplash, op-ed pieces, and what they view as leftist, often foreign-funded, anti-Hindu, anti-India activism. While all this seemed like a response solely directed against an enemy, the new nationalism has a happy quirk. It also stands for something. There is a cross-disciplinary revival of pride in one's self, one's nation, one's tradition, one's civilization and one's place in the world, and which has always existed as the word Swa. So, whether it's Swabhasha, Swasiksha, Swabhumi,
Swaraj,
Swabhav, Swaraj, that is again getting manifested again. So, I would say an Atal Bihari Vajpayee or a Narendra Modi has been thrown up by the times. They have not thrown up the times.
So, coming back to Rahul Roshan, Rahul, very quickly you were talking of the establishment and you said the political, there is a political change, but the establishment may not have changed. What exactly do you mean by that? Are you trying to say that the non-right is still so well networked and they have so much solidarity there that it will take perhaps a longer time for the right to arrive when it comes to impacting upon policies and the general intellectual space of the country? Will it take longer?
Well, I mean, obviously, the way we are going, obviously, it will take longer, and I won't really offer any justification for whether the pace has been decent or not. That can be another half an hour or 1 hour debate, and mostly people on mentioned in this book will be going for the throats of each other, saying that the pace of change hasn't been good, or it has been satisfactory, and so those things we can keep debating. But the truth is that the old establishment hasn't been replaced. Definitely hasn't been replaced. To an extent, definitely it has become weakened. Obviously, pretty much weakened so far as political sphere is concerned. The election results after election results kind of show that. But so far as because political power is just one aspect of it, the way you control people's behavior, and unfortunately, I mean, like even though we might call it democracy, mostly it does boil down to how you are shepherding people, or how you are controlling their thought, how you are creating a
Okay, I'll put you a question, and I want Abhijit also to share his thoughts on this. Often it is said that the intellectual space, the mind space, gets most importantly influenced by the academic environment, the atmosphere. Do you think the change is still visible in the academic atmosphere of the country? Because that is where the real change of thought is, begins to churn.
Right. That's where I believe the change hasn't been pretty satisfactory. A lot needs to be done by all kind of aspects, but at the same time, it is not as one-sided or as monopolized as earlier. I mean, like, good books are being written, obviously, and whatever comes into syllabus and whatever is being taught, obviously, debated. You can't create textbooks out of nowhere. Some bit of scholarly work should already be there on which new textbooks can be written. I'm not at all here, for a moment, saying that such scholarly work never existed or they don't exist. They do exist, and on that a lot can be done. However, a lot needs to be done on the scholarly basis as well, which obviously is changing. A lot many new authors, new books, new narratives are being explored, new platforms are coming up. So things should change. But yeah, it should change fast. I mean, it could have changed fast.
Coming back to Abhijit Da, there is often when we refer to the right wing in our country, we look at their thoughts on some very crucial issues, and we realize that the positions that they adopt are actually completely contrary to what a right wing thought in the global or the European sense is supposed to adopt. For instance, the stand taken by our people on questions of transgenders, the LGBTQ, other cultural issues. It seems issues of human rights, women's rights, and such a so-called liberal subjects are being pushed by the right wing, and the so-called left wing is opposing it tooth and nail.
Yes, just look at some of the issues. You look at abortion. Abortion in the American elections has been a massive issue. And the American right, for all its, I completely disagree with them when they say that why should we allow abortion? Now, we had from 1971 we had the MTP Act. There have been more amendments giving the mother more powers over her body and over her
maternity
reproductive rights. Look at the transgender bill that has been passed in 2015, tabled in 2014, enacted in 2019, which gives which goes against, which is a bulwark against discrimination against the third gender. And finally, again, I'll just very quickly
and also some legislations related to child abuse, and trafficking of little girls.
Yes, triple talaq, child abuse, trafficking. There has been a lot of so-called quote-unquote progressive. Now, the left has taken the progressive tag for itself and given the right the populist tag. so that is here Deep Purakaista, who's one of the most
Yes.
prominent alternative sexuality activists in Kolkata. He just this one para, he says, when a transgender dancer receives a Padma Shri and uses her aanchal to bless the President of India, the sovereign head of the state, you know that things are coming full circle. It's pure tradition. Once upon a time, transgenders used to bless the Raja. Now they bless the Rashtrapati. And while she blesses the Indian Republic through the President, the sovereign bends to accept her blessings. What could be a better visual representation of what is happening now?
Wonderful. Absolutely. Rahul Roshan, moving away to something on which you may have your first-hand experience to share. I know for a fact that Abhijit Da has, a lot may have changed in the political sphere, but we often hear almost every day complaints and a lot of chatter about the fact that people who profess the so-called right-wing thought are even today, they feel persecuted. If not persecuted, they certainly feel ostracized and isolated.
Well, there cannot be any mingling of thoughts if the seminar is being hosted, organized, thought of by the other side, because that's what they define it. So so I would say by design, it's be like that. That you would be ostracized, you would be made to feel unwelcome, because despite thinking that they are all for diversity of thoughts and all that, and the left actually is very much against diversity in thoughts. They can only think about diversity in ethnicity. That's their latest group. They can have a black person, a white person, a person of color, but all of them should have the same thought process. So they don't really, celebrate diversity of thoughts. For them, diversity is more about the cultural or the ethnic identity. So obviously that would always be there. So
way out. What do
Yeah.
you suggest is the way out for people like you and others who are clearly leaning to the right wing, but they do want to do their job well. They don't want to be pointed out and ostracized all the time.
Right. I mean, it's an uphill task because the traditional systems obviously are controlled by them, and it's not, as I was telling earlier, it's just the political system that has weakened, and so much more. For example, something that doesn't often get into notice, but say the advertising industry, for example. Or the big tech industry, obviously, recently we have seen. That is more easily understood, obviously, because Elon Musk and all that, he's a flamboyant guy, and he had known how the big tech was completely monopolizing and kind of making the entire world a colony. And he kind of threw some spanners. Not everything he does might be beneficial to the right in India, but fine, he demonstrated it. Similarly, the advertising industry, for example, they established norms, rules. Are there against, they are very much, stacked against you. Like a person who is mocking religion and all that, he still can get, a corporate brand sponsorship, or he can come on a reality show. But, people on the right will not have that opportunity. Now, that has got nothing to do with election results, and that has, some bit of relationship you can always draw. And these structures are so entrenched that you will have to hit at various aspects to forget demolishing it. I mean, even to make some changes and to make these slightly amenable to you. So it can't be just a one stop solution. There are multi-pronged things that one will have to do in independent ways.
Because systems are so well entrenched, and perhaps also because the non-right wing is also much well networked, they are perhaps stronger in standing for each other. Has the new right arrived? At least it is visible.
Yes, the good thing is, good news is that, people like, for instance, Rahul's book, The Sanghi Who Never Went to a Shaka, or my book, would probably not have been published 10, 12 years ago. But you must understand, Smita, that we are where we are not because of a system, but despite it. So there are tremendous amount of there is a tremendous amount of hostility still in the system. This book that we are discussing today was dropped by, after they paid me advance, was dropped by a very popular publisher, international publisher. So there are stories, if Rahul and I start narrating the hit jobs and all, it can go on for 2-3 hours. But the thing is that we have arrived, that is solely because of that is solely because we wanted to, despite whatever has, whichever stumbling blocks have come our way. And this is how things will happen. One last word to people who think they are not part of the left ecosystem, they are nationalists. That is the core criteria of being,
reaching
called,
out.
part of the ecosystem. If they believe in that, then they should not try and divide. Already there are, people who on the same, they are doing their on the same, they may have diverse views, completely diverse views, but they are part of the same team eventually. They are trying to make India more, a better place and stuff, but they should not then, hit at each other, undermine each other, one another. A little more unity is required.
Fine,
because we
fine.
we are starting out. It's a staggering amount of work that needs to be done.
Got the point? And I think both the gentlemen on our show will agree that just hitting out at each other and raising questions which can be ignored in the interest of a larger ecosystem is perhaps the best way to go forward. But for now, Rahul Roshan, thank you very much for connecting to us and sharing all your thoughts. And Abhijit Da, thank you for coming down to the Doordarshan studios and sharing your experience of the book and the issues raised there.
Thank you so much.
A democracy is no democracy until and unless all thoughts and ideas can thrive and flourish. Perhaps this is a thought that the people who love to and pride to call themselves progressive have somewhere forgotten, since they have been entrenched in the systems for a very, very long time, and they never thought a challenge would come. Will this challenge survive, and how strong is the challenge is something we will like to keep our eyes on. For now, we would like to thank you for joining Media Scan on this weekend. Do join us next weekend again for another issue of national importance. Till then, namaskar.